Creating anything worthwhile begins with a good foundation. Whether you're designing a room, creating a lovely meal, or growing some of your own food, having some of those basic elements in order will put you in good stead. So today, I thought we would start, well, with the start, or the beginning, and explore some of the fundamentals of the home and garden. When creating a garden, there are two types of plants that I pay particular attention to because they create the mainstay or the framework of the garden. That would be shrubs and perennials. If you'll look behind me, you'll see this broadleaf evergreen, a large evergreen shrub. In front of it, I've planted Russian sage, a wonderful perennial that comes back year after year. And here you can see the salvia-leucantha, and as it spills down, you can begin to add annual color for that pop in every season. For instance, here I've got Caryopteris in the back with that evergreen or osmanthus in the back. And then here we see perennials in the way of this Gara. This is Terenia contrasted to the sweet potato vine leaf. And here along the edge is this beautiful little Macedonia. Now, these add that visual pop with color, but it's really these shrubs and perennials that can provide a sense of enclosure, and also they can help you frame your garden beds. When laying out a garden, you have to set priorities, and the top priorities for me are always the shrubs and perennials, because you see these are more permanent. They're going to stay in your garden year after year. Now you'll want to be particularly mindful of their mature size because they can grow for years and can sometimes outgrow their space. In terms of size and shape, many of the evergreen shrubs are more easy to manipulate through pruning, although they aren't quite as colorful as something like a hydrangea or an azalea, which will give you beautiful blooms. But they're certainly not as compelling once the flowers fade or the foliage dies back. I think the real point to keep in mind here is the framework of the garden. By choosing the right plant carefully and placing it in the right place, you can have a framework that will give you a satisfying garden for years to come. Coming up, we're breaking it down with a compost bin. Designer Toby Fairley shares how to design a room from the ground up, and I'll show you my favorite kitchen utensil. When we talk about fertilizer, we're basically talking about plant food, feeding the plants. And it's all about whether it's a synthetic fertilizer or organic fertilizer. It's about getting a nutrient or nutrients to the plant, essential nutrients that the plant needs to grow and prosper. Now, if you look on the bag, you'll see that there are three macronutrients that are found in most fertilizers. There's nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. Each one of these helps the plant develop in different ways. Nitrogen, for instance, which is denoted with an N, helps plant foliage to grow strong. Potassium, denoted with a K, is important for overall plant health. It regulates the metabolism and water absorption. And then there's phosphorus, denoted with the letter P. This helps roots and flowers grow and develop. I use Job's organic fertilizer here on my farm and around my gardens because it's important for me to keep things natural, and they've added value because of Job's Biozone. The primary reason I use fertilizer is for plant health and the increased production that I see. You see, whether it's blooms, fruits, or vegetables, I'll see anywhere from a double to triple crop yield just by adding fertilizer to the soil. An added benefit is that it helps me make the most of my watering because healthy plants take up water and nutrients more efficiently. Now, when it comes to applying fertilizer, there are multiple options. You can apply Job's organic granular fertilizer at the initial planting, but then follow up with Job's Organic water-soluble variety to feed throughout the season. You see, Job's Organic's water-soluble fertilizer is also great for established plants. Another easy option that works especially well for containers are the Job's fertilizer spikes. Hey, if you've never used fertilizer or plant food in your garden before, give it a try this season. You'll be amazed by the results. Okay, come on, it's time to grow. Now, if you really want to get fundamental, we have to talk about compost. Let me tell you, it is so easy to create your own compost bin, and there's no better way to go organic than to, well, recycle and reuse some of the things you otherwise might throw away. After the break, learn how to avoid some basic mistakes made by beginning gardeners. Like everything else in life, gardening often involves trial and error, but there are a few basic mistakes that are made by almost everyone. You know, getting into gardening is a really cool thing. You can grow so much. I just love it. And I always try to help people out who are just getting started, beginner gardeners. They're green. You know, there's some basic things that they always fall back on, which are the biggest mistakes, and there are about 5 of them, and I thought I might go through them first. First of all, don't take on too much. You know, you get excited about something, you want to conquer the world. The idea is to stay small, have small victories like container gardening. Grow something in containers. Grow tomatoes in containers first, or these raised beds. That's what I'm going to do in these raised beds. I'm going to put some tomatoes in them. But in this container, I'm going to put this one big agave. It's root bound. It was in this pot. Hey, it needs a bigger home. So it's going in here. The second thing is that planting plants in the right place. Read the labels. You know, if it says full sun, don't put it in the shade because it ain't going to grow. If it says it likes shade, don't put it in the full sun because it's going to look like a crispy critter. The other thing is, don't plant things too deeply. Gardeners really want to pile stuff up. I mean, soil all around the base of plants, and they really don't like it. Now, tomatoes are an exception. I plant 3/4 of the stem of a tomato in the ground, and I get a big root system. But by and large, you want to make sure that you're not planting things too deeply. So you can see the top of this agave is right about here. And I'm not going to add any more soil to this, maybe just a little bit, but you just want to keep the soil level at the level it is in the container. Maybe just a little bit higher if you mulch, and mulching helps keep the moisture in, which is important. The other thing is watering. Don't overwater your plants. You don't want them sitting in water, okay? So you're into it, you're loving your plants, you're giving them too much love in the way of water, and you're gonna kill them. The other thing is like bulbs. Here, I've got some bulbs here that I'm gonna plant, and people plant them upside down, and I don't get that. The basal plate of a bulb is right here at the bottom. You can kind of see where the roots will come out. That goes down. It's like a Hershey candy kiss. Okay, that's 5, but one more. And it goes along with the water. Don't over fertilize. You don't want to kill your plants by burning them up with too much fertilizer, okay? Don't kill them with too much love. Prevention basics in the garden, and a tip from one of my favorite designers when we return. One of the fundamentals of any good organic garden, or any garden for that matter, is prevention. You see, by being proactive, it's one of the best ways to keep all of that hard work that you've put into your garden from being undone by pests, insects, and disease. Now, you'll find there are many options out there for insect control, but because I garden organically, I look for natural solutions like predatory insects or an organic insecticide that isn't made with those synthetic chemicals used in other controls. With either of these options, it's crucial to use them before you have a serious insect problem to get the best results. Similarly, there are preventive measures you can take to reduce the likelihood of disease affecting your plants. You can use soaker hoses to water at the roots instead of watering over the top of the plants. Excess moisture on plants' foliage is just a breeding ground for bacteria and fungi. And to help my plants out even more, I coat them with an organic control spray that keeps disease from spreading. You know, the sorts of things that come from those nasty little enemies that can crawl all over your plants. The main point here is that prevention fundamentally makes sense. Give it a try and enjoy the results in your garden.
Let's talk design fundamentals. Every room starts with the floor plan, and often a floor plan is confined by the size of the rug. Here's a great tip. Use a room size rug, like 12 to 18 inches off the wall, and the furniture can maximize the whole room. So where do you find a room size rug? Well, I love to make custom ones out of all of these amazing yarn samples. But a budget-friendly idea is go to your local home store, pick out a carpet that would normally be wall to wall, and have it bound into a custom rug for your space. So use these fundamentals to design outside your comfort zone.
Coming up, we'll explore some fundamental tools for the kitchen. This past summer, some of my favorite bloggers shared with me that one kitchen tool they just simply can't live without.
My must-have kitchen utensil is a really good knife. You need a good-sized chef knife, and I use that for almost everything other than peeling vegetables.
I love my microplane. I love my microplane for a couple reasons. First of all, it's made here in Arkansas, which I love. Also, you can use it for things like lemon zest, cheese, nutmeg, all sorts of things. It's my favorite.
I would say that my favorite must-use kitchen utensil is very low-tech and very old, but it would probably be a wooden spoon because it's so important to use wood when you're using fine cooking pots and pans. You don't want to scrape it with metal. It's sustainable. You can actually, and here we are at the farm, you can actually use the wooden spoon in many different ways, and it's a sustainable product that comes from wood. And if you go to the farmer's market, you can often find craftsmen who will sell chicken eggs, but also have these wooden spoons that they've crafted themselves. So it's a great way to buy local.
In today's kitchen, there is a world of gadgetry, and sometimes I think it can get a little confusing because there seems to be a tool to do absolutely everything. Everything from strainers to presses to sharpeners to graters, you name it, it's all out there. But for me, if I had to choose one tool in the kitchen, it would have to be a really good sharp paring knife. Now, if you have a good sharp paring knife, you want to make sure that you protect yourself. What I like about this particular model is it comes with its own little scabbard, so you can cover it up. There are ceramic knives that are very sharp. If you have just traditional knives, I like to have a handy knife sharpener to go along with my paring knife. And if you really think about it, a dull knife is more dangerous than a sharp knife because most kitchen accidents occur because the knife is dull and you're applying undue pressure to the object that you're cutting, and there the accident can occur. That's why it's important to have a good, sharp knife. There's more garden style awaiting just after the break. No matter the undertaking, you're sure to see better results if you have an understanding of some basic fundamentals. I hope you've picked up some basic tips in today's show that you can apply both in the home and garden. For Garden Style, I'm Alan Smith. Creating anything worthwhile begins with a good foundation. Okay? Watch me flog a videographer who's stepping on my last butternut squash. That's reality. Walk the plank. Walk the plank, Duncan.
I actually get shot with a knife by this point.
This is what, you should close it like this. Last scene is. Smith, out of here.